In our most recent trip down to Walt Disney World, we got to experience a bunch of things that were new to us and several that were kind of the impetus for the trip. If you want to hear our review of a bunch of those items, stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Adam.
For Pixie Dust PhD. If you are new around here, do be sure to hit that subscribe button, and then you can ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new videos. And thanks so much if you are a returning viewer and for liking the video. Let's get to it then. So we were only in theme parks for 2 days, but then we had basically 4-ish days down in the Orlando area to do a bunch of new to us things. So we'll go roughly in chronological order here. On our arrival day, we got to Bay Lake Tower around 5 p.m. or so, and then we had a 7:30 p.m. dinner at Toledo, so that was definitely new to us. At Toledo, they have like a prefix dinner for 2 that we ordered, so let's go ahead and talk about that. How did you feel about Toledo?
Oh, I thought Toledo was awesome, in a word.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty great. I knew it would be really good. I'd always heard good things about it, and it's pricier for sure, so you go in expecting high quality, but it honestly, it was such a vibe. The restaurant is beautiful. It's fairly small, and they sat people pretty far apart, so, we could very easily hear each other. It didn't have that, hustle and bustle that some Disney restaurants do that feels chaotic. It was, peaceful and beautiful, and then, the meal was fantastic.
Yeah, it was, a Spanish steakhouse tapas type restaurant, and everything we ate was good. It's good bites.
Yeah, I will say they brought the steak out, so we got a butcher's cut for 2. They brought it out, and we knew it would be bone in, but it was just here's your hunk of meat, and they hadn't sliced it or anything, which I think for that price point, I was expecting some of the carving to have happened back in the kitchen, but otherwise, the cook on it was beautiful and it was delicious. So yeah, Toledo to me was big thumbs up.
Yeah, they did a really good job. Service was good, and it was definitely a lot of food, but it was all very delicious, and it was really cool how, like Jacqueline said, the inside was beautiful. Definitely
a fun way to start our trip off. Next in the new to us, sticking with food, we did a lunch at Steakhouse 71, and later we also went to the lounge. So what did you think of Steakhouse 71?
So Steakhouse 71, my feelings on that were mixed. I think that some things were really good. Others left to be desired for what's supposed to be, I think, a fairly nice hotel restaurant.
I think it's casual. I mean, the nice one is California Grill.
That's a good point. But yeah, I think just for I guess what, mid-tier you would call it, or
mid, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was fine. It's good to have that option, I think, at the hotel, because California Grill is just ridiculous in terms of fanciness. But yeah, I thought it was fine, and I think the lounge and the drinks, the bar were really good. So I think the bar is a really nice spot. It's away from the hustle and bustle of the hotel. It's quiet, and it is a nice bar. So
I really liked the furniture.
Okay, yeah.
Which is kind of a weird thing to say, but I guess the theming of the inside of both the lounge part and the restaurant itself I liked a lot. In terms of lunch, it was above average overall, and I think it's a good addition to the hotel, but I'm not clamoring to go back.
That's a good way to put it.
It weirdly had and I don't know that this is necessarily justified, but for me it's kind of like an elevated diner. I don't really know why they're acting like it's a steakhouse. I mean, neither of us got the steak, I guess, so maybe that's on us. But it didn't give me steakhouse vibes.
Yeah. I think the drinks were definitely the star, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The food, I think, was, again, not clamoring to go back like I would be at Toledo.
Yeah, no, the food is good, though.
Yeah, it's good.
And yeah, it's that mid-tier price point. It's kind of like Grand Floridian Cafe. I think that's a good comparator. I do prefer Steakhouse 71 and Grand Floridian Cafe, I think. So there's that. And I love the lounge. I love that that's a nice, easy option that you can probably almost always just drop into, grab a drink, grab a bite to eat. So overall, happy with it.
Yeah, the decor is cool. Go check it out.
I'm glad we went, but it's, our home resort's Bay Lake Tower, though, so I'm sure we'll be back. Next in new to us, and for me, a big reason why I wanted to head down before the 50th ended, was Enchantment, so the nighttime spectacular at Magic Kingdom. I was pretty spoiler-free for this. I think you were as well, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know too much about it. I mean, I knew that it was a production show and a fireworks show, and I knew that at some point since its debut, they had added a portion that highlighted Walt Disney himself and like a little bit of the history of the company, which I gather is the tag that they put on at the very beginning.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Other than that, I had very little spoiled for me, so I really didn't know anything going into it, which is kind of how I prefer it. Like, I like to experience the thing in person myself if I know I'm going to. If I knew I'd miss it totally, I would watch it online. But yeah, I think, the general like internet rumblings had been that it was not a good show, so I had pretty low expectations. And I was like really pleasantly surprised. I mean, it was not happily ever after, but I still did tear up towards the end when Tinkerbell was flying. And, when Mickey tells you, you are the magic, it's pretty hard not to have a smile on your face.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the show. And it's a projection and fireworks show. It's got Tink flying at the end. And I thought it just was a really entertaining way to ignite a Magic Kingdom. And I'm happy we, waited for some good seats, right?
Yeah.
Stuck out, camped out and got some good viewing locations. And I did like how they brought in a lot of the Pixar characters, which was cool.
Yeah, so I think the biggest contrast for me in the fact that when I watch Happily Ever After, I tear up usually like 3 or 4 times, and this was only once. And so for me, it didn't hit me emotionally in the same way. And upon reflection, I think that Enchantment really goes for breadth. So they show you a lot of clips of a lot of the different properties that they have: Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, probably. I don't remember. But you're seeing a lot. Whereas opposed to, I felt like in Happily Ever After, they really focused on, you're going to have a segment that is all Brave. You'll have a segment that's all The Little Mermaid or whatever. So there wasn't as much depth, I think, in Enchantment. But I really appreciated like getting to hunt for all the characters, and I thought that the music was nice. And yeah, I don't have any real complaints. Like, I thought it was a pretty good show. And I mean, I'm stoked Happily Ever After's coming back. But if Enchantment was staying, I don't think I would be that upset.
So I really liked your comment about the breadth of, how they went over all the different characters. They didn't really go a mile deep into any particular segment. But yeah, I thought there's just them covering a lot of characters, creatively doing the projection show to kind of match each character and being able to kind of thread it together. I think they did a good job threading it together. I think that there were probably, it sounds like a lot of complaints that it was kind of felt disjointed, but I did think they did a good job, ultimately.
I agree. I'm really glad we saw it, so definitely thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go into a fireworks and projections show, expecting, a deep, engaging story, right? I'm there to be entertained and, want to see lights and fireworks. And that's what we got for sure.
Also new to us, we did successfully secure a virtual queue for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So that was our first ride on that. And much like with Enchantment, spoiler-wise, we didn't know much. I was aware that there was a backwards launch, and I was aware that there's like 6 or 7 songs you can get, I think. But I didn't know, I can't name the playlist, for example. So I didn't have a preconceived notion of like which song I was hoping to get or anything like that. So yeah, the virtual queue process was the same as Rise of the Resistance. Good success rate for us, easy peasy for us. I know that's not the case for everyone, but that worked out well. And then, you just tap your magic band and join the queue. And the queue was fine. It was nice.
No, it was good. Good queue. Really small queue, I think, for that type of roller coaster in terms of the inside portion. But yeah, I mean, it was, fun. Terry Crews with his first Marvel role.
Yeah, that was a fun surprise. So spoilers are in effect. Terry Crews has a role in a little bit in the queue, but then a big role in the pre-show and the ride, I guess, itself. And I had to ask, we went with a friend who knows just a lot more about Marvel and Disney than I do. And I was like, was Terry Crews in Guardians of the Galaxy? Because I've seen both of the movies. Are there 3 now? I think the 3rd one's coming. Anyway, I've seen the movies and I don't love them, so I'm not going to pretend that I memorized it, but I feel like I would have remembered if Terry Crews was there. But yeah, no, it turns out he just like took this role specifically for the ride, which is so weird and funny and charming.
Yeah, and the ride itself was a lot of fun. Very unique, having gone on a coaster like that before. Yeah. So, and it definitely was like, okay, if we could make a modern Space Mountain like indoor roller coaster, like I think they really hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, what Space Mountain wanted to be, should be, all those things. So I enjoyed it. I think I probably had bad preconceived notions of, I heard Backwards launch and I was like, this is going to be awesome. I thought it would be more thrilling than it ended up being for me. But like, I love going on Velocicoaster. So for me, this was a pretty mild, like, tame ride. And I thought it would be a little more intense. Like, I even find Rock and Roller Coaster to be more intense than Cosmic Rewind, which I wasn't expecting. That's probably my bad. But it was super fun. It's pretty much, if you've been to Disneyland Paris, it reminded me a lot of Crush's Coaster, but like smoother and newer, and then with projections and stuff.
Yeah, and then the music element was fun. Definitely added a little bit extra. Like, it's really cool to like have a soundtrack to your roller coaster.
Yeah.
Instead of just other people's screams.
Yeah. But we got conga, which I found confusing because there's a line pretty early, I think once you're actually in the ride, where Peter Quill's saying like, you can't kill rock and roll, and then they're playing conga. I'm like, how is this rock and roll? Like,
it's not.
Don't think so, but okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't really care for the Guardians, but the storyline of the ride made sense and was easy enough to follow, even if you're like a pretty casual fan, I'd say. If you've seen like none of Marvel, I think you'll get it to an extent, but you'll probably be a little more confused.
Yeah, they make it pretty straight, easy to follow storyline. As in, we're gonna put you on this rocket ship and you're gonna go in outer space, and yeah.
You're on like a chase, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fun. It's cute. I think probably depending on where you're seated, you might have a different experience in terms of like which parts of the projections you can see. I found sometimes I was probably looking in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So I think like re-rides are probably better. And then I get like medium motion sickness, I would say. It's not super extreme, but it's not super mild anymore. It kind of gets worse with time. So I was pretty nervous about this because the cars do move, and it's not like they spin uncontrollably. Like, I'm pretty sure they're programmed to move at certain places, but the car is moving. So you're doing the roller coaster, and then also your car is tilting, and then also you're more or less surrounded by projections in the darkness. So I was like, oh, this could be terrible. When we got off the ride, I did they have a bench. And I was like, I just want to sit down for a second. I drank some water. We took a minute, but it really wasn't that bad. Like, it's nothing like Star Tours. It's nothing like Mission Space.
No.
So I know motion sickness affects people very differently, but at least for me, hopefully for you, I really didn't have any major problems, I would say. It was very minimal for me. Yeah, overall, like, a fun ride. I hate to admit it, but it might be my new favorite coaster. So sorry, Expedition Everest. If that track was smoother...
Yeah.
That's a lot of my enjoyment, honestly. It's like, how rickety does this feel? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to go on it again whenever we head down to Walt Disney World next. Moving away from the theme parks then, another new to us experience was Gideon's Bakehouse. So this was open the last time we were there. I've heard about the hype for a long time. I am a pretty decent baker. So I'm always a little bit wary of these things when everyone's like, this is the best cookie I've ever had. I'm like, I can probably make a better cookie. So yeah, we went to Gideon's for the first time. First of all, we just don't spend a lot of time at Disney Springs.
No.
I think it's a big reason why we hadn't gone before. But we were very intentionally going to go get lunch at Disney Springs this trip. And so we were like, well, heck, let's jump in the virtual queue for Gideon's, get lunch, try it out, see what the hype's about. So we did that. We got to Disney Springs, I want to say around 11 a.m. or so.
Yeah, that's about right.
And, we headed off to Gideon's. We got in the virtual queue. Then we got lunch. It probably took 90-ish minutes to get called back. And then you do still have to wait in a real line after the virtual queue, much like with Cosmic Rewind. And it probably took about 20 minutes to order our things once we were done being in the real line.
Yeah, and, I would say the coolest part of that experience for me was probably just the inside part of the store. I mean,
it's very themed.
Very themed, very cool. And like Jacqueline said, she's a good baker, so she could probably make a better cookie, honestly. Maybe. I don't know. It was definitely the cookies I don't think were quite worth a 4-hour line, right? Like, unless you're going to be at Disney Springs all day.
Yeah.
Like, it's like not worth an adventure, I think, on its own.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're going to be there anyway, like, hop in the virtual queue, do what you're going to do. If you're still there, you can head back. I mean, if you leave, you're not like penalized for missing your slot.
Yeah, I'd say it's like, worth, 15, 20-minute wait just to check out how themed the inside is. If you've never been inside a place that Gideon's before, right? Who knows if they only have 2 locations, right? Just Orlando downtown and Disney Springs.
What I'm aware of.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it was cool to check out. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't blown away by the cookie.
Yeah, so we got a peanut butter crunch cookie, a pistachio toffee cookie, and then the peanut butter cold brew. And it was like $20. So also it's like pretty expensive in my opinion.
Yeah.
The cold brew we drank right away, and I don't think I've ever had cold brew before. I don't really drink coffee. If I'm drinking a coffee product, it's probably espresso. And I don't know what normal cold brew tastes like. But this was like a melted milkshake, not consistency wise, but flavor wise. I was like, where is the coffee in this?
Yeah, it definitely tasted like a melted peanut butter milkshake.
It was good. I'm not mad about it.
With like some coffee notes, but like not much at all. Yeah, it's like they dumped a bunch of syrup in that, but hey, I enjoyed it.
I don't want to know how many calories it is. But yeah, I mean, if you're not a coffee person, but you're interested, like, again, I don't drink coffee and I enjoyed that peanut butter cold brew. It was very surprising to me. So that was good. And then the peanut butter crunch cookie was very fine.
Yeah.
Those are my tasting notes.
Yeah. It's a peanut butter cookie. It was extra soft from the peanut butter. And tasted very peanut buttery.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah.
It was pretty one note to me, and I realized it's a peanut butter cookie, so there is the one dominant flavor, but I think it was missing some salt. Ours was definitely missing some crunch. There were like a few actual peanut pieces, but not enough if you ask me. The toffee pistachio cookie was significantly better, and I would say it's definitely a good cookie, but the cookies did not blow my mind. These are not the world's best cookies, if you ask me.
Yeah, if they have like some flavor of the month or that really calls to you, I mean, then hey, check it out. It's probably a good riff on that flavor profile. But yeah, I think that it's definitely hit or miss though.
I just also think it's a little gimmicky with like they're so large and the chips are all over the outside. So to me also with the peanut butter one, I thought this was just the case of peanut butter cookies are very soft. That's just how it goes. But then we got this chocolate pistachio toffee one and the inside was really, really soft, like borderline underbaked. I think because it's really hard to bake a cookie that large where the outside is like thin and crispy and the inside is fluffy, but not doughy. And it was real close, if you ask me. Like, I think they were underbaked. So if we were going to Disney Springs again, sure, I would hop into the virtual queue. If we were still at Disney Springs when our time got called back, I might go. I might try, like a flavor of the month or something. I would not get the peanut butter cookie again. I might get the pistachio one again, but I just love pistachios. So, and I guess we'd get the peanut butter cold brew again. But I don't feel like I ever need to go back.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, hey, if we're walking by, we'll jump in the queue and we may not even come back if we're not feeling it.
Yeah, there's plenty of other dessert options too at Disney Springs. So it's not like you have to deal with the virtual queue and then the actual line just for Gideon's. And while we were waiting for that virtual queue, we ended up grabbing lunch at the bar at the Boathouse. So we've never been to the Boathouse ever, right?
Never.
I don't even know that we've even considered it because the price point is fairly high and I think reservations are pretty hard to get. But in looking up lunch options for Disney Springs, I was like, hey, they have bars that should be first come, first serve. As far as I could tell, they serve the full menu, which they do. So we just went to try it because it was fairly early. Disney Springs did get packed eventually. But, when we were getting lunch at 11:30 or whatever, it was very easy to get bar seats.
Yeah, and they definitely got busy and busier, especially as the day went on. But, I think they were doing their brunch and had their full menu available as well, like Jacqueline was saying.
Yeah, so they have they're not quite dueling pianos, but they have 2 pianists there playing whatever they want. And also you can make requests and they're really talented. And so that was pretty cool and entertaining, good part of the atmosphere. I gather they only do this for brunch.
Yeah, it's only a brunch thing that they do. And I think it's only one day during the weekend. I don't know. Anyway, it was also cool because they were blasting the music all over the entire restaurant. So they were performing in the main area. We've got the boat for a table, that kind of gimmicky stuff. But then they were also broadcasting it across the restaurant too, over the PA system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we both got an espresso martini, and then I got some fried clam strips because I just love clam strips and they're kind of hard to find. And Adam got an Asian riff on calamari.
Yeah, I think the winner, they were both really good. I think that the real winner, though, is the clam strips.
I was so happy with the clam strips. They were exactly how I wanted, which is one, they cut them appropriately so they weren't too long. And then the breading was right where it was light and crispy, but not puffy, not like beer battered fish and chips, which sometimes when you order clam strips, they come that way. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's not appropriate. So yeah, they were great. The Boathouse is a little expensive. I think our apps were like $16-ish, maybe a little more even.
Problem with seafood
Yeah, but
is that it's going to be a little higher price point.
I think the food is pretty high quality there. And then, also you're at Disney Springs, so you get that upcharge as well.
Yeah, definitely. But it was a good time.
It was good. I would go back. I don't think there's so much to do and eat at Disney Springs. I don't think I would have to go back, but also a reliable place to get clam strips. So you might see me there again sooner rather than later. The espresso martinis were also good. They weren't like the best espresso martini I've ever had. They might be the best on Disney property though.
Yeah, the drinks were good. Food was good for sure.
Yeah, so thumbs up to Boathouse. And if you can't get a reservation, if everyone's old enough, you can sit at the bar, no problem.
Yeah, and they had this interesting little back bar too that was out like on the dock.
Yeah, the dockside bar.
Yeah, exactly. So,
it was a little chilly that day, so we voted for inside bar.
Yeah, for sure.
Food-wise, the last big new thing for us was Bull and Bear, which is the steakhouse over at Waldorf Astoria. It is exorbitantly priced. We knew that going into it, so it wasn't, the biggest surprise, but the bill always hurts a little bit. But yeah, it was quite the experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a true steakhouse experience. And what I mean by that is it was, everything was pretty much over the top.
Yes.
And yeah, in terms of the food, the service, very fancy. And they really try and justify that price point with all of going above and beyond.
A lot of tableside service, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it was really cool. I don't think either of us have really done a true steakhouse experience like that before.
I think if it's within your budget, I would recommend it. I say that recognizing that it's not going to be within most people's budgets. It is very ridiculously priced. Yeah,
it's definitely this is an experience kind of thing. It was ridiculous, but definitely fun thing to do. I don't think we'll be doing a steakhouse like that anytime soon.
Nope.
But hey, it was fun.
I'm super glad we went, and yeah, we had budgeted for it before the trip. And part of this was also because essentially all of our hotel nights were more or less free. So that helps out a lot on Disney trips in terms of the cash flow because we're not really paying for lodging. So hooray. I'm so glad we went, but I don't think we're going back just because of the cost.
Yeah, it had to be a really special occasion.
Yeah. All right, and then wrapping this up, we'll do a hotel segment really briefly. So we did stay for one night at Hilton Orlando Buena Vista Palace. We also stayed here during our fall 2021 trip, so the hotel itself was not new to us. On that trip, our prior trip, we had booked a standard king room, and they upgraded us to a one-bedroom king suite. So if you want to see that, there's a room tour already on the channel. This time we, again, booked a one standard king room, and we did get upgraded, but to the Disney Springs view room. So instead of being off in the suites building, we were in the main tower of the hotel, which I think was a pretty different experience.
Yeah, definitely, not a ginormous room, but the tower was still pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice room for sure. And there were ways with which this room, the Disney Springs view room and the tower, felt a lot newer than the suites building. I think the tower has probably been refurbished recently, and the suites building, at least when we had stayed there in September 2021, had a lot of wear and tear. It was fine, but it definitely felt old. So this was a much nicer experience in terms of just the feel of the furniture and the towels and everything.
Yeah, and we did do the walk over the pedestrian bridge, Disney Springs from the hotel, and it's a pretty convenient location, pretty easy to get over there.
Yeah. So it's not the world's nicest hotel. It's not the most comfortable bed I've ever stayed in, but everything was definitely above average, definitely good enough. We obviously did not take the free transport over to the Disney parks. They do have it, but I can't tell you what that experience is because we just walked to Disney Springs and then left.
Yeah.
We were really only there for 12 hours, but it was a good night's sleep. It wasn't the most quiet. Noise was definitely a little bit of an issue, I would say, but that's kind of true at all Disney hotels. But yeah, the bed was comfortable. The shower was, got really hot. The pressure was good. So no complaints from me, and I would stay there again.
No, the same for me. I would definitely stay there again.
Then next, after our Disney Springs lunch, we headed over to the Waldorf Astoria Orlando. So we've definitely never stayed there before. I've never stayed at a Waldorf, period. Have you?
No, never.
Yep. So a whole new experience, to the point where And, you know, these probably used to be standard things, but not these days. Like when you walk up, they just have a cart of like free water bottles if you just wanted to grab a water on your way in. You're like, oh, okay, it's different here.
Yeah. They definitely, it's a 5-star hotel. And they, you know, it's evident that they go above and beyond for their hospitality.
Yeah. So we did check in on the app so we didn't have to deal with reception, which is just a personal preference. Obviously, if you talk to the staff there, everyone we did talk to was phenomenally nice and professional. So we kind of just headed straight to our room, which like the colors weren't really my palette. It kind of had that like stuffy, this is what fancy is supposed to be vibe, but everything was so comfortable. Like the couch was so comfortable. It was probably the most comfy bed other than ours that I've slept in. They gave you these robes to use that were just like so plush and nice.
Yeah, and then the bathroom had like a bathtub and a shower.
Yeah, and it was like big. It wasn't
crazy.
crammed in. I think the room overall was pretty big too. So yeah, we just had a standard king room. I think they call the standards deluxe, but I mean it was your normal king room, and it was awesome.
Yeah, echo that again. It was awesome.
Much like Bull and Bear, it's stupidly priced. So when we booked this, we were using a free reward night. It would have been 80,000 points, which I think is about appropriate, knowing what, you know, 80,000 points gets you in New York or similar. So points wise, not the worst. Money wise though, it would have been like $800 a night for one night. It's $800, which I just don't have that level of disposable income and can't really imagine ever having that level of disposable income. So yeah, I don't know that we'll ever do it again. I mean, maybe with another free reward night that we do tend to spend those elsewhere. But
yeah.
It was also just really, like the hotel was super nice. The room was super nice. And it was also just nice to like have a very luxurious day free of theme parks to just like decompress and chill before we headed home.
No, I agree, because we went pretty hard for those few days in the parks trying to get everything on our to-do list. All the things we discussed today, we did a lot of new things. Put a lot of time in the park, so we definitely needed that recovery day.
Yeah, so we've never done a full resort day before.
Yeah.
So this would be the first, and I know it wasn't a Disney resort, but I mean, it's the Waldorf, so I think it counts.
Definitely a resort, yeah.
Yeah, so I would recommend it. My eyes have been open to the value of a resort day, and I especially like doing it, like Adam said, after 2 like really long, really intense park days. It was awesome to just sort of be lazy and just like, I'll just lay on this bed for 20 minutes. Like, oh, let's go walk over to the pool. And let's go hang out at the bar and like just stay there. It was awesome. Those were all the big new things we did in our 4-ish day trip to Walt Disney World in January 2023. I'm glad we were able to pack so much in. And largely, I think they were pretty positive experiences.
Yeah, it was great to do some of the 50th activities and try some new stuff in the parks. And yeah, it was great to escape a little bit of the cold weather in January.
Yeah, so Cosmic Rewind was a big hit, and I'm looking forward to, by the time we get down there again, Tron will be open, so we'll have some other new, at least one more new thing to experience.
Oh yeah, we also did the art festival.
Oh yeah, Festival of the Arts. That was new for us. We've never done Festival of the Arts before. I really enjoyed it. I mean, we were only there for one day, so it's hard to say, you know, we didn't do all of the activities or whatever. But just the way that they appointed the park a little differently, like the drawings and the chalk and stuff that they had around, I thought it added like such a lovely little piece of life into the park that is otherwise usually not there.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I'm sure we'll touch on that in some other videos.
Yeah. If you have any questions about any of these experiences that we had, please leave those in the comments down below, and we'll do our best to get back to you with a useful answer. I hope perhaps this has inspired you. I tend to stick to my habits and go to the same places. We did not even go to Tambu Lounge this trip. Shocker for me, made time for new things like the Steakhouse 71 Lounge. So, you know, if you are like me and a creature of habit, maybe this has helped you hear about some things that, oh, maybe you do want to try. I had a really surprisingly good time doing all these new things.
Yeah, I mean, Disney's always a lot of fun, and trying new things at Disney. You know, there's definitely a little bit of a risk there going away from the old habits, but it was definitely worth it in our case, and basically almost every single one of them.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Overall, pretty good. Thanks again for coming along on our journey. There surely are other videos from this trip on the channel. If you want to check them out, I'll leave some links in the description below. But otherwise, we hope that the rest of your day is magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye.